Welcome to a new episode of Unscrambled Faith. I'm your host, Megan Hammonds, and I'm so excited so happy, excited, I don't know, but happy for sure to be here. It's been a little bit since I last recorded, and in fact, the last episode that I did, if you were able to catch it, if not, no worries, don't worry about it, but the last episode that I recorded was a little bit on the heavier side. And recently, this last week, I was kind of going back and forth with what I wanted to talk about. And I was, of course, as we can all be guilty of doing, I was overthinking it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep this week's episode a little bit on the more lighthearted side, give you all a little bit of a life update. In case you're wondering, yes, this tree behind me, this palm, whatever we're calling it, is definitely touching the back of my head. But you know what? Full transparency, whenever you record and you do all the things and you're a one-person show for your podcast, I had to play around with the lighting and where I wanted to put some of the backdrop things like the lamp and the tree. And I'm not going to lie, I moved it around so many times, I almost got a little irritated and maybe a little annoyed as well. I think that hopefully over the next couple weeks, I can play around with this a little bit more. Granted, I do have quite the arrangement of things on the floor that you currently cannot see in my office setting, but I do have a lot of things on the floor. Honestly, miscellaneous things that I have not even gotten to since moving a couple months ago. Non-important things, to be honest with you. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of this I could probably throw away. It's just, I don't know if you can relate to that, but definitely not what I plan on talking about today. ADHD at its finest, but so I'm just kind of looking at a couple of things right now that I just don't have a place for them. I don't have a home for them. And a part of me just honestly wants to bag it and just throw it away. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now. Currently today is that I have been rearranging a couple of things around me, trying to figure out the right lighting. And my goal over the next week or two is to be able to get all of this set up here behind me and around me to where I just don't have to mess with it anymore. I can walk into my office space, sit down, record, turn the lights on, and everything else is copacetic. So we'll see. You never know. But yeah, so hopefully wherever you're listening to this, I hope you're having a good day so far and a good week. But I think today is going to be more like a lighthearted chat, like a little coffee chat, lighthearted chat or drink chat, because I'm not drinking coffee right now. In fact, if you're watching the YouTube video, I don't know if you can see this or not. You can kind of sort of see it. It almost looks like the pink drink from Starbucks, but I'm not a Starbucks fan. This is actually a drink that I have been heavily fixated on making currently in my house. In fact, it's very refreshing, especially for summertime. And you know what? Absolutely. I guess it sort of has a little bit to do with today's conversation, but it is definitely one of the things that's bringing me joy through my algorithm. Loving that a lot of videos that are coming through are non-alcoholic friendly summer type drinks that you can make on the fly. That's not going to take a lot of time. So this specific drink, it is Fresca, so the canned Fresca. It's the peach flavor. I will say, just as a little side note, is that if you have not yet to try the sparkling Fresca, I personally get it from H-E-B, and anything that I honestly mentioned during today's or this week's podcast, I'm not sponsored, so I just want to put that out there. But I got this from H-E-B, so the Fresca alone is from H-E-B. I'll say that. And one little plug-in for Fresca, if you have not had it, I'll say this. I really like it when it's mixed with other things, but I'm not a fan of it by itself. It has like this very odd aftertaste. I'm sure more likely that might be something that is just a part of the drink or, part of the flavoring. However, so it's peach Fresca in case you're interested or want to make it yourself. sliced strawberries. I have played around before with freeze-dried strawberries, not the same. I've also done frozen strawberries, not the same. There is a vendor, so I'll get to this here in a little bit, but I've been loving farmers markets on the weekends, and there's this specific vendor that's local to me. His business name, I believe, is The Real Peach Guy, but I buy strawberries currently from him. He just recently seasonally got a couple new fruits, including peaches, which I'm very excited about for this next time around. But this past weekend, I got strawberries. So what I like to do is I'll slice, clean up all the things, the strawberries. I get 1 pound, and half of that pound I will cut up specifically for this drink, and the other half I will cut up and or slice, and then I'll put in like those little sandwich Ziploc bags, and I'll have them as a snack periodically through like the next week or two until I run out. But that goes in the drink. And what else? You could do like fresh lime if you wanted to. I'm not gonna lie, I did have a couple limes for a while. I just got lazy. I'm gonna be honest. I got lazy, didn't want to cut it up, all the things. So I ended up buying I forgot what it's called, but it's the packets of like the powder. I know it's not the best for you, but it's, you might know what I'm talking about, but it's the packets of like it's lime flavoring. So that's what I put in there. I know the video that I saw, they actually put, I think it was sugar-free coconut syrup. However, I did not feel like going out to the stores, and H-E-B did not sell that. But what I did get was the coconut, oh, what do they call that? It's, gosh, now I don't even know. It's not like a syrup, but it's in a plastic bottle, and I know it's used mostly for a lot of alcohol-based drinks, but of course this one's non-alcoholic friendly. But this one has, so usually what I'll do is I'll take like my clear cups, which I actually got these from Amazon, which I absolutely love, but I usually do these with my iced coffee. But what I'll do is I'll take like the coconut, and then I will pour like the inside of the cup. I put my ice in there, then I'll pour the Fresca, put my strawberries, lime, and then I'll mix it all up. But I absolutely love it. And like I said, it does this like really pretty shade of like a light pink, but I think honestly that's obviously from the strawberries. But yeah, so enough about that. But yeah, today's a little bit more of a lighthearted chat. So I hope your summer's off to a good start. One thing that I'm very excited about today is actually not a therapy day for me, that's tomorrow, but today marks 90 days that I've been a member with HotWorks. And if you're not familiar with HotWorks is a studio where it has like individual smaller base rooms with infrared like sauna heating. What I absolutely love, I would say my top 3 things about HotWorks, a little plug-in for them. If you have thought about trying HotWorks, if you've never been, if you have one in your area, I highly recommend. Not related to my 3 favorite things, but I will put a plug-in and say that if you go during the daytime, so I would say more likely like prior to, I would say 4 p.m., 5 p.m., really 5 p.m. at the latest, but probably 4 p.m. Weekdays, I believe most studios, you want to call and ask, but most of them, I want to say, I think it's Monday through Thursday. If you go early morning to about 4 p.m., like I said, call your studio. Double check this. Don't quote me on these hours. I'm just thinking of my local studio. But if you go during the day, there's actually a one-time free pass that you can go as like a trial and do a class and then just see, if you like it or not. I personally recommend doing what's called the hot stretch class, especially personally if you're like myself. When I first joined HotWorks, exactly today, 90 days ago, full transparency, had not mostly worked out for about 2 years. Now, here and there, I may have gone like on a bike ride or done maybe like a Zumba class, or I don't know, who knows, maybe went for a light walk, mostly bike rides, but not consistently and not enough to be able to say like I was an active person. So no, I mostly sat and worked, and yeah, so I didn't really move my body as much for about 2 years, and boy did I feel it. But when I started HotWorks, if you're in that bracket, in that bucket, I would definitely say do your trial class as the hot stretch class. There are other classes offered that are 15 minutes long, but those are going to be a little bit more high intensity for a short amount of time. Now, if you work out not consistently, but more than I did, which was really nothing at all for 2 years. So if you go for like a light walk, or you've done, I don't know, I would say like if you work out maybe about once or twice a week, and you're still wanting to dabble and try out how hot works, then honestly, any of the 15-minute classes, I would highly recommend. My personal favorites, that the only classes that I've done so far, I've tried, let me think. So yoga and Pilates, I believe, is 45 minutes along with hot stretch. So you have those three. If you're wanting your 15-minute classes, I've done Hot Thunder. So Hot Thunder is rowing, which is incredible. What was the other one? I can't remember right now. Gosh. But I've done one where I can't remember right now what it's called, but it's similar to cycling, but it's a bicycle, and there's a little bit more aerobic instruction that's added into it. So there's that as well. But yeah, so that's my little plug-in for HotWorks. I highly recommend trying them out. Go get your free class, try it out, and let me know what you think. But like I said, today marks 90 days with HotWorks, and I've really, really enjoyed it so far. I really love it. And again, going back to before I joined 90 days and when I joined HotWorks, prior to that, I had not worked out, like I said, for about 2 years. Kirby says hello. That's a whole nother subject for another day, y'all. With this cat, I can't decide if I want to close. I don't want to deprive her of my office, but she loves getting all up in the space. So hopefully I'll be able to figure this out. I think that once I get like an official chair, Kirby, y'all, if y'all could just see her right now, she's actually sticking her face through my Ring camera light. She's quite the diva, but lack of professionalism is definitely there. As you can see, the ring light coming into the picture. It's trial and error. And also, once again, not professional podcast, to say the least. Very amateur. This is what you get, folks. But I'm thinking, as far as this little girl is concerned, once I get like an actual chair, so right now I have like my office chair, but what I want to do is get like a sofa type chair, so that way whenever I'm recording, I don't have to worry about all this stuff that I have around me in front of me, and she can honestly just jump in my lap as I'm recording. And I think that's going to be the best bet for her. In fact, facing me right now is her cat tree. And I was kind of secretly hoping, because I pulled it closer to me, that she was going to get in that. But I think she loves all the lights, all the warmth from the lights. So that's where we're at right now. Never dull moment, to say the least. I feel like I'm actually on one of those like Zoom calls, and the cats, or the animals, the dogs or the cats, are just kind of like not interrupting, but like having their moment on camera. That's where I feel like we're at with that right now. But we're just going to go with the flow. In fact, I think she's kind of honing in more to the theme of the lighthearted chat. Hi. All right. Now you're sidetracking me. But yeah, so going back to what I was talking about. So I'm really glad that I joined 90 days ago. And I will say that what has surprised me the most is that I've been able to be consistent with it. I knew realistically that I was not going to want to necessarily get into it and do it every day. I knew that was not going to be realistic, even though in my mind I really wanted to work out every single day. But realistically, I just knew that now I think that might change, honestly, going into like this next challenge, because the 90 days challenge basically starts over tomorrow. So I think that that's something I'm going to challenge myself more on, is because I know lately, at least for like the last month or two since I've been with HotWorks, I want to say that the minimum of 3 days a week I've been working out. Now, not like in a row, so sporadically through the week, but at least I would say 2 to 3 times a week. But I do want to get into figuring out like if it's possible, which I know in my heart, like as of right now, especially with my work schedule and how my life is right now, that I could honestly get into doing it once a day, because one of the things, circle back. So one of the 3 favorite things that I love about HotWorks, for one, is that they're open 24 hours. So like I said, if you're not a member and you want to try it out for the first time for free, you have to go during the daytime, because that's when the staffed hours are. However, when you join, From that point on, you have 24-hour access to get into there, which is by far one of my favorite things, which is also in conjunction with the fact that I could, if I wanted to, in theory, work out every single day because they are open 24 hours. So that's kind of where my mindset is going into after today. Um, but yeah, I would say the second thing that I love about HotWorks is that for every class that you take, there's no more than 3 people per class. So it's intimate, it's a little bit more private. I love that you don't have to, I will say, being a part of HotWorks for the last couple of months, at most when I have joined a class, I would say mostly not early morning, but like midday to maybe early evening. At most, there only been one time that 2 other people were in the room together, but they were friends. So honestly, I would be shocked if it was 2 people in the room and they didn't know each other. But every now and then, I would say maybe about once every other week or so, I have booked a room where somebody else has either already booked it and they're in there too, or maybe that I book it and then they come in right after me, which is more than fine. I would say that if you're wanting to try to grab a room by yourself, you're going to more likely get a lot more luckier with that earlier in the morning, like 6 a.m. ish, around that time, or late at night. Now, I will say, like, for me personally, the last 2 months, I had my second job and I was working mostly nighttime at night. And so mostly when I was going to work out was around like 8 p.m. or so. And I really enjoyed that because there was hardly anybody there. Again, I don't know. It could vary honestly, depending on which location you go to. I would say then, so that was number 2. So my third favorite thing about it is the positivity. I love the fact that and again, this is just going off of like the location that I go to, but I love the vibes. I love that there's a lot of positivity. I love the fact that I can go in and they always have some kind of like interactive challenge. I'm I'm not a super competitive person anymore. I used to be, but it's still there. I am competitive, but not as severe as it used to be, because I feel like if I was, I would probably be there every day. But I like that they do challenges, and yeah, it's just, I highly recommend it. So that's my little plug-in. But more importantly, I would say that over the last couple months, one of the things that I have been able to prove, that's been proven to me personally, is that my mental health has been more important than my physical health. So obviously with, joining there, going there, other things that I've been doing, I have been focusing on my physical health, but showing up and working out the way that I have been, one of the improvements that I would say that I've noticed over the last couple months, 90 days or so, was that my mental health has not only improved but stayed consistent, and my stress levels are really low. I personally love the fact that the fact that they have like the sauna incorporated with the workout, because a lot of times, like, I have a lot of tension that I carry in my neck and my like middle back area, and there have been times in the past where I've tried to do certain workouts or workout movements wherever I'm at, and I feel a little constricted. I cannot, I'm not as like loosened up as I should be. And so one of the things that I do love about being in the warmth of the sauna and working out is that it honestly helps me be a little bit more limber. I don't feel as sore, and it's definitely a really big aid into getting in like a good workout and feeling great afterwards. But kind of segueing into that is another thing that I've been really, really enjoying and doing over the last couple months is finding different ways that I can improve or work on like my overall wellness. There's a specific place that my mom actually introduced me to recently, and I feel like it's one of those things again that I'm going to say the wrong name, but I want to say that it's called Revive. It's probably Restore, but it's Revive, tomato, one of those things. The establishment is incredible. They offer a wide variety of things that you can choose and pick to do and try out to help your overall, again, mental wellness, physical wellness. A couple of things that I have been doing there. So one thing that I actually have done for a number of years now is the IV treatments, if you're not familiar with those. Now, again, I'm not a professional. I'm just describing it for like what it is, as I know, or what I've visually been able to see. So the IV treatments, what that is there's a variety of vitamins. So you basically choose what type of IV treatment you want, and then there's vitamins that are fed into the IV, and it's just a different approach to be able to get your vitamin intake. Or if you're like myself, there's sometimes there's some vitamins that I'm lacking in. And so what I really appreciate is the fact that I can go get one of those treatments, and being able to get the IV, it just makes me feel better overall physically. Now, I will say that one of the ones that I got recently was considered like their wellness one. So I was around a couple of people that were feeling under the weather. Now, I don't go frequently and do that specific thing because it can add up. However, it is worth investment, especially if you're doing it on a need basis. So what I mean by that is, for example, like I said earlier, there was a while back where I was at a family function and a couple of people were not feeling well. I personally didn't want to take the risk when I got back home and get sick, and especially if anything that they had was contagious. And so whenever I went and got the IV, then I told them, I said, hey, do you have anything vitamin wise that we can do that's going to help build my immune system up? And then that was perfect because of that reason. The other one that I did recently was, what was the other one? The one I did recently focused a little bit more on like muscle, what I want to say, like muscle, gosh, words are hard. Repair. That's what I'm looking for. Not prepare, repair. So muscle repair. This one I got, I think, probably about a month or two ago. I think it was about 2 months ago. But it was a month ago. And when I did get that one, it was because I was not only working both jobs, but I was working out more vigorously, and I wanted something that was going to be able to aid in not only like the neck and back problems that I was having, but also just the overall muscle soreness. A couple other things that I have tried while I was there. So what was the other one? Oh, the other thing I've been loving recently that's there as well is they refer to it as their mild hyperbaric chamber. That was something that I have seen through honestly through like TV shows or movies, or I've just heard about it through like word of mouth, and I've never actually physically like seen one in person. And so I love that they do have that. Now this one, like I said, is mild. So what I mean by that is the pressure is not going to be as intense as like maybe what you've seen when it comes to like a post like recovery, for example, things of that nature. This one, they give you an option of being in there for, I believe, an hour to an hour and a half. I say an hour for me is honestly long enough. I really enjoyed it. I would say if you're okay with being in enclosed spaces, if you are not, I don't think I would recommend this, to be honest. There are other options for you, but if you don't mind closed spaces, it kind of reminds me of getting into like a sleeping bag. So that's what it feels like. You're in a sleeping bag. I love the fact that they have like a little window that I can see through, and I have like a little walkie that I can communicate with the nurse and then talk to them about what's going on, and they check in periodically. Overall, my favorite thing that I would say why it's worth it is my sleep quality has highly, highly improved. Especially specifically, whenever I am in the middle of the laying down in the hyperbaric chamber, one thing I've noticed is that I'm easily able to go into like a deep REM sleep, especially because you're laying down, you're relaxing for an hour. One thing that I intentionally have done is I had decided I don't bring my phone in to that space with me. I at first was a little concerned, being a spicy brain person, is that I was a little concerned that I was going to get like bored, irritated, restless. But it's so comfortable. They'll actually ask you. I know they've asked me every time, like, do I want like extra pillows in there, or I get a blanket. So then that way, if I get like chilly, then because once it's closed, it's closed. Now I will say too that if by chance, let's just say you get in there and you're like, I have to go to the bathroom or this is not for me, then you have every right. And that's why they give you the walkie-talkie to tell them like, I got to get out of here. But I would say just a couple of tips if you decide to do something similar to that. A couple tips being, I personally drink minimal liquids an hour before your appointment. I had looked it up online and what I've been doing to kind of aid in getting my body like prepped for that and that specific day that I have that appointment with the mild hyperbaric chamber is I make sure and have a high protein breakfast, just like minimal liquids an hour before. Same thing for food. I don't want food or liquid an hour before my appointment. I recommend wearing loose clothing, something comfortable, similar to like this nature. So I have like a little tank top right now, little jacket. Loose clothing, loose pants. Don't wear anything like too tight or constricting. And what was the other thing? I think that was pretty much about it. And then everything else, like medical wise, they will ask you before you actually go through the appointment. There's a form you'll fill out. There's a nurse that you'll have a discussion with. So they want to know, specific things about your health and things of that nature. And again, whenever you talk to somebody that's a professional, you're able to find out, is this for me? Is this going to be beneficial? But yeah, I would say overall sleep quality, for sure. And not just like a one and done, like the next day or that night, oh, I slept so great. No, I'm talking like from like one appointment until the next. I would say at least almost a week and a half, close to 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half at most, but a week and a half of like incredible quality sleep, which is really great. Another thing that I know that has helped me with is aiding in like my inflammation within my body, among a couple other things. Not to mention the fact that whenever you're laying down, they do give you tubes, like oxygen tubes to put in your nose, and you're getting fresh oxygen to your brain. But just the overall air quality, not to mention the oxygen to your brain, like the combination of all that, is just almost euphoric. It's incredible. It's relaxing. Like I said, it's well worth the investment. But I lately have been excited for the fact that I've been a little bit more open-minded to trying these new things out and just getting out there and just trying it once, just see if it's for me. Maybe it's not, but just, trying everything at least once. Now, I will say in combination with those things, there was about like a 2-month period a while back when I was getting probably about, I think, every 3 to 4 weeks, a lymphatic massage. So it's been a little bit since I've got one of those, but whenever so right after my divorce, whenever I got my new home and moved in and all the things, I had done a little bit, not a lot of research, but like a little bit of research online, and had saw that there was a suggestion on talking about how a lot of times when you've been through an immense amount of stress, when you've been going through maybe like a big life change, or if you're like myself, like I am not at an ideal like healthy weight for myself personally. So there's a lot of water retention. There's a lot of inflammation, not only with the stress levels, but my cortisol levels a couple months ago was way off the charts. Said that wrong. With everything else. And so I had looked it up online once again to see kind of like what a lymphatic massage was, what are the benefits of it. Now I will say I do have friends that at home they'll do, like you may have heard or seen, the lymphatic like facial massage. So there's a lot of different tools that we can do that you can kind of help move the water retention, the inflammation, and help that what I want to say, minimize that like within your face. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I'm not a consistent person with a lot of those things. I'll order the tools, I'll get the stuff, maybe do it a couple of times, but I can only introduce so many new things into my day-to-day life and I don't want to do too much, right? So what I can appreciate is the fact that I can book an appointment with someone that is professional who can actually do the lymphatic massage for myself. And I don't have to buy the tools. I don't have to make the time at home. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. It is so much more enjoyable when not only you have somebody that professionally knows what they're doing, but the fact that it is somebody else that's doing it. One thing that I remember way back before I even got married, whenever I was single, that was so important was physical touch. And what I mean by that is physical touch in a way of like a massage, like a back massage, or getting a hug, or holding someone's hand, or high-fiving somebody. Those things, someone who feels lonely, someone who feels deprived of that, it can definitely be quite the hunger. And so I remember that whenever I was single, that one of the things that I really truly appreciated, because right before I got married, I had decided during that time that I was not going to sleep around. I was not going to sleep with anybody. If I did date anybody at the time, if that happened, then I actively just chose for myself personally. I guess more or less along the lines of like being celibate, but I had decided that I didn't want to do any of that. But however, I will say that because I was single and I was walking that path, that it did feel very lonely, right? From going from like one lifestyle to another. And just the loving feeling that someone cares enough to not only be professional and gifted to be able to help heal somebody, but to get them to feel better. I mean, think about how good it feels whenever you like receive a hug from somebody, and not one of those quick hugs, but one of those hugs that like, you really like, it warms your heart. It's like, oh, it's like a little teddy bear moment. You get a hug and you just don't want to release the hug from that person. That is what a lymphatic massage is, basically. And again, if you're like myself, like I remember for a lot of times, like my hands would go numb. They would swell really easily. My ankles, my feet would swell really easily, especially because for a long time I was on my feet a lot of the time, not sitting as much. Or if there were other moments where I would be like traveling or working, and again, just walking and all the things, that my calf muscles would swell, my feet would swell, and I was just overall very uncomfortable. And not to mention, a big part of that was I noticed, and again, like I said, this isn't just one thing fixes all. It's a plethora of things that I've been doing. But I noticed within my neckline, even my neck was swollen, like extremely swollen for the longest time, and not to mention like within my like collarbone area, and then my neck region. Whenever I started making all of these, healthier decisions, and then adding in the lymphatic massage, I even then noticed a difference within those things as well. And then not to mention like my skincare routine. So off and on over the years, I've had like I would say like a very modest, moderate skincare routine. But one thing that I've started doing the last couple months was introducing a little bit more of a variety of things for my skincare. I used to be the person that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to choose one product and one product only. But as I've gotten older, I've noticed that my skin can change from maybe like a day-to-day basis or a week to week basis, just depending upon a lot of things, right? I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but because of that, I love having like a variety of skincare options, just depending upon what my skin needs. And I've noticed a very positive difference with doing that. Now, I would say first and foremost, do your research, do your homework, before you decide on getting anything for your skincare, because everyone is so different from one another. So make sure and do that first and foremost before you make any decisions to, try any different type of things, especially specifically on your face. One thing that I've actually really kind of, I don't know, like, I don't want to say shock's not the word, but mesmerized, I guess. Because, I mean, I know we talk about a lot of times in life in general. We talk about, like, time flies by, and sometimes it slows down, and sometimes it speeds up. I was thinking not only with, like, marking 90 days with Heartworks today, but that also got me to thinking about how it's been almost 4 months since I moved into my new home. And that's mind blowing. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, because I know that, like I said, there are a lot of times when we talk about like, when it gets like into summertime or closer to the holidays, we're like, oh wow, the year's flying by or time's really flying by. I don't really think about that as much as often, but I will say recently, I'm like, wow, almost 4 months has gone by. And that blows my mind because it just feels like it was just yesterday that I was moving into this space. And that's just, I don't know. It's not just one thing. It's like, it's humbling to me. It's surprising me. I didn't honestly expect this much time to fly by as fast as it has been. I will say that going into almost 4 months now, being into my new space, one of the things that I've been very excited about, specifically over the last couple of weeks, is I've started to hang a lot more in the house. That was something that I am very happy that I didn't rush, because a lot of times when I've moved into a new home or a new apartment over the years, I eagerly will want to decorate. However, I think that a big part of it was probably because of how busy, honestly, I was with work when I first moved into my home. Now that things have slowed down, I am very grateful to be able to have the last couple months to be able to be a little bit more pickier and choosier about where I want to put things and how I want to decorate my space. And one of the things that I've done recently is I have been really getting into like vendor events, markets, farmers markets, festivals. And so a couple of those places that I've been to, I've been able, fortunately, to find certain like decor pieces to either prop up like on the countertop or on my dressers, or hanging from the wall. And I love that because I think that at any other time, I would have rushed it and I would have gone to any of the stores that you could possibly think of that carry like home decor. However, I'm really, really happy with the fact again that I slowed down. I didn't rush it, but more importantly, I'm able to support small businesses and I'm able to find things that I'm creatively being able to um, express myself, and things that are kind of like speaking to me, calling me. Now, I will say, being that it's just party of one in this home, it's taking a little bit longer for me to hang all the things. I'm not going to lie about that, because a lot of the recent decor pieces that I've been wanting to put up quite possibly takes two people. Thankfully, my mom has offered at some point sooner. I was like, no rush on her end, but she has offered to come over and help me, which I'm very, extremely, very happy about. But yeah, but I'm excited. I just, like I said, decorating my space, making it more of my own, being able to pick and choose things that are bringing me joy that I can creatively express myself through has been very therapeutic. Very, very therapeutic. I would say, one of the things that has surprised me is how different I feel from about 4 months ago as compared to now. I would say that whenever I first moved in about 4 months ago, that I was in a very like fight or flight mentality. I mean, as y'all know, if you've been listening to Unscrambled Faith for a while now, you know that I took quite the break. For one, whenever I moved into my new space, I was trying to just keep my head above water. I'd already obviously made all these big changes. I was just getting into kind of the feel, the vibe of like what it's like to be post divorced, working two jobs. I just moved all the boxes in, had help with that, getting into my new space. And then at that point, it was just really surviving. And I would say that was for sure like at least the first month of moving in. And then after that, it was like, okay, let's just maybe open like a few boxes here and there. And then before I knew it, everything was, especially thanks to my family's help, they were amazing. And so shout out to my mom and dad for helping me organize and put things away. But little by little, it started feeling more like a home, which was great. And I would say that that was one of the things that I'm definitely grateful for, is that I slowed that process down. Now, whether that be the fact that I had a very busy schedule or mentally I just needed to slow down, either way, I'm just very happy that it played out the way that it did. I would say like two little routines that make me feel at home. One of them being I have this like faux fireplace that's below my TV. And even though technically it will put off heat, but I live in Texas, and let's be honest, I'm more likely not really going to need that and that's even if I need that, till closer to like December, maybe January at the latest. But until then, I love the ambience. I love being able to, it has like different color settings, and I'm all for that. I love being able to find one of my favorite shows or a movie that I'm watching or that I come across or it's suggested to me. But, or even if I'm like one of my favorite things recently is going to YouTube and finding those like screensavers that are like running water or another fireplace going, or something that's like soft music in the background where I can either read my book or work on my Bible study, but being able to just kind of like slow down and chill. I would definitely say relaxing on the couch, with my faux fireplace going, and some music in the background. That's definitely one routine that, especially if I can take, like, I try to take at least if I can, one day a week where I'm not watching a TV show or a movie, but I do have like either worship music playing in the background, or again, one of those relaxing screensavers playing. And I'm really just, and obviously snuggling with Kirby first and foremost, but snuggling with her. And like I said, either reading my book or, just kind of doing something that's not going to like otherwise like occupy my mind, but kind of like unwind, from the week. At least taking one day a week to do that has tremendously helped, and for sure made me feel a little bit more at home. I would say another routine that makes the space feel a little bit more at home. I would say whenever I'm in the mood to fix myself a meal, whether it's fixing myself something for breakfast. And what I mean by fixing something is, I mean something that's going to take a little bit more ingredients, whether it's an actual like meal for dinner, maybe it's a casserole to kind of like get me by through the week. Maybe it's something I'm making for lunch that I can double or triple up through the week and kind of break it up into like smaller containers to take with me to work. Or it could be that maybe I have an off day or it's the weekend and I have some downtime to be able to make breakfast for myself. That's one of my most favorite things, is whether it's breakfast or dinner. It's usually not both. It's like one or the other. But one of those meals I'm actually taking a little bit more time, and there's multiple ingredients that's going into the meals. But I'm absolutely loving that lately, especially being that it's just me, that I'm able to choose what I want to eat and I don't have to consult anybody else. I really am appreciating that. And I love that lately I'm getting a little bit more adventurous too, as far as like the fruits or vegetables that I'm trying out, which is very exciting. So it kind of segues into like the next thing I was going to talk about. Is one of the things that I've been loving lately in life is farmers markets. The last couple years, I kind of dabbled here and there with the farmers market, maybe like once a month, maybe once every 2 months. But when I say that this has become like an official lifestyle for myself, I really wholeheartedly mean it. And what I mean by that is that I have full on embraced the farmers market in a way that, like, for example, today I did do like a grocery pickup order. However, like what I picked up was just maybe a handful of non-perishable items, things that you typically can't otherwise get at a farmer's market, and other things to kind of like mostly for like my lunches, if I'm being honest. But when I shop the farmer's market, what I love lately is being able to plan my dinners around whatever I can get at the local farmer's market. And what I love too is that the ones that I've been going to over the last couple months is that they're consistently every weekend, which is so awesome. So good, because I'm able to go at least every week, if not maybe every other weekend. And a lot of times I find that the vendors are the same, which is hands down even better, because then I'm able to plan ahead of time, like maybe what I'm going to be on the lookout for. I love the fact that I can, I know that not only am I getting cleaner, sourced vegetables, fruits, meats, sourdough bread, which I absolutely love, but also it's a win-win because I'm able to support someone's livelihood, someone's passion, someone's family, someone's small business, and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a big experience. And if you live close to me, so I live South Texas, south of Houston. So if you live close to me and you're listening, couple of farmers markets, a little plug in for y'all, my usual places that I go to. So there's three. So there's Seabrook Farmers Market, and they, I believe, run the first, I want to say it's the first and last Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, every month. And then when they do run, it's from, oh gosh, I want to say about 11, it's 11 to 2. I think it's, yeah, I want to say it's like about 11 to 2 p.m., I believe. But yeah, so it's Seabrook Farmers Market. The second one, they run this one every Sunday, and this one is Bay Area Farmers Market. So again, if you're familiar with south of Houston, that specific region area, it's near Baybrook Mall. So it's actually adjacent to Baybrook Mall, so it's kind of closer to Dick's Sporting Goods. Yeah, just pretty much in that parking lot. Couple advice personally for specifically the Bay Area one is get there as early as you can. If I'm not mistaken, they run that one from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that one is every Sunday. I do recommend getting there basically when it starts, especially if you're looking for something very specific, because a lot of the vendors tend to run out of some items faster than others. In fact, as a random side note, there's one specific vendor. I don't remember his business name, but what's really funny is he specializes specifically in pecan pie. And yes, I do realize that that has zero to do with a healthy wellness lifestyle, but I'm a big believer in balance. Now, one thing that he sells out of the fastest, and I think the earliest that I've been able to get there was probably like 11:40, I believe, 11:30, 11:40, no, 11:40, which was not too long ago. And he sells the homemade pecan pie by the half or singles. Now, I personally have no business purchasing a half. And I have been wanting to go with my friend to see if maybe she wants to split it, because I don't honestly, funny enough, trust myself, because y'all, this has got to be the best pecan pie I've ever had. Now, I do have another vendor that does a smoked pecan pie. That is a different experience. But this specific pie is not smoked. But every single time I go by, and now I will admit, he's not the first vendor that I go to, and I think that's another one of my mistakes. But he sells out of his single pecan pie every time. And I'm like, maybe I should just take that from a note from the gods that like it's not meant to be. But anyways, I digress on that. But that's one of those that when it's meant to be, it will be available. But yeah, but I've been loving farmers markets, meal planning around them. It's so much fun. I love the fact that a lot of these vendors, specifically the ones that have like the fruits and the vegetables, you never know what they're going to have. You never know what's going to be available. And I absolutely love that because it keeps things spicy. I'm able to switch things up. I mean, and not to mention the variety of meals. Like, for example, there's a vendor that I love shopping at Bay Area Farmers Market, and she specifically has Indian cuisine, and then one of the actual meals that I get from her is this pizza, and I absolutely love it because it has, let me think, I know I'm going to miss some ingredients on it, but it has, I believe, goat cheese, and it has lamb, and there's almost like this like butter, like garlic sauce that's like on top of it, garlic butter that's on top of it as well. But it is so incredible. But that, and then there's like these pre-made meals that she sells as well. So like for example, yesterday when I went there, I stopped at her booth for sure. I know I picked out, I believe that I got for sure the pizza because I'm actually gonna have that tonight. I'm not gonna lie. And then I got two more meals, I believe, from her as well. And then there's this gentleman that sells what does he have, like wild game like meats, and so I got a couple of items from that. So I actually let me think, I got like chicken breast, and what else did I get? I believe I got bison as well. Oh, and I got flat iron steak. I'm very excited to try that because I'm used to doing like a flank steak, so I got that as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, like just a variety of meats and vegetables and fruits, which, like I said, I absolutely love. And I'm set for the week, which is even better. But yeah, but farmers markets have been a lot of fun, especially because whenever, like yesterday, I brought my mom with me, and my good friend Heather, shout out to Heather, shares the passion for farmers markets like I have. And so she and I will actually go to one, if not two, through the weekend. So I've been having a lot of fun with that as well. Lately, one big thing for me is that I I'm learning to rest more, and that resting more is making my life feel fuller. Now, over the last couple of years prior to everything that, changed my life, moving into my new house, over the last couple of years, I've worked really hard on slowing down, focusing more on like my mental health, not being so sporadically like all over the place and disheveled. And that has been quite the process in itself. And one of the things that I really struggled with over the last couple of years was slowing down and being more comfortable in the quiet and taking time out for myself, not only mentally, but spiritually as well. And whether it was sitting in a chair and reading a book, or taking the time out to work on a Bible study, anything of that nature that didn't involve like a TV show or scrolling on my phone or watching a movie, I really struggled with. And one of the things that I've come to appreciate over the last couple of months is that I'm leaning more into embracing and enjoying the quiet time from when I can find it, especially if it's even specifically like little pockets of quiet time. I don't want to take that for granted anymore. And one of the things that I've noticed over the last couple months for myself personally is that doing little things like that and slowing down and learning to rest, and that's going to look different every time, rest for myself, is that it is making me feel like I do have a more fulfilled life and that I am more at peace and a lot happier. And I know that it's not only showing up physically on the outside for my appearance, but mentally as well. And then just the overall like or the I don't really want to use that word, like the energy that I give off to those that are around me. There's a shift that's taken place, and I can definitely notice it for the better. So what God has placed on my heart recently is that I need to do just that. Focus more on slowing down, focus more on being in the quiet and being leaning in to being more comfortable in the quiet. One of the things that I honestly, full transparent, keep kind of like knucking up against what God's put in my heart is, I will say that I have had moments where I'm finding more like TV shows and more movies to watch. And when God's put on my heart for me to either work more on my Bible study or reflect more on, I had like these positive affirmation cards, things like that, just to connect more with Him and be more present with Him. I find lately that my spirit is fighting that, and I'm not really sure why, but lately I've been struggling more and finding myself getting the remote, finding the TV shows or the movies, and then like watching them back to back, when I know like in my heart that God's wanting and talking me to do other things other than what's on the TV. And in my spirit, I just keep finding it. And I know that that leaves me feeling almost like there's this disturbance like in my spirit, and when they say like you're not at a plateau, like like you feel uncomfortable, like my spirit, my heart, my mental state, it's starting to get uncomfortable, and it's kind of starting like this restlessness. And I know that that's why, is because I'm feeding my mind, I'm feeding my spirit things that are not like either making me feel good, or it's just that it's kind of it's not building me up. It's most certainly not what God's wanting. And and lately I've just been like, I keep just like fighting it and fighting it. And I don't know if it's that I'm scared that there could be something bigger that he has in store, that there's a message that he's wanting to unveil to me. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. I'm okay where I'm at. And even like, I'll find myself in the moments where I'm feeling that tug again in my heart, my spirit, to either listen to more worship music or turn to my Bible study, or maybe work in my journal, my gratitude journal, things of that, like doing different things like that. Like, instead of any of that, I'm like, I would much rather pick up my phone and scroll and watch these videos. But then I've noticed again, what's happening in the moment is that it feels good. Whether I'm finding a new TV show to watch or a movie, or I'm scrolling through my algorithm feed, it's temporary. That's what it is. It's temporary. And then I leave feeling unfulfilled, and I'm kind of like numb, and I don't feel bad per se, but I don't feel good, if that makes sense. I'm not feeling uplifted, but I truly feel like that's what deep down, like what God is putting on my heart, is to lean more onto him and not turning towards the things that are otherwise, TV show and movies and such. One of the things that I lately have had on my heart, my mind, is dating. It's dating, I know. And that's something that I kind of keep playing back and forth with. To be honest, I'm at a place in my life, both just mentally and just like the age that I'm at and where I'm at in my life personally, is that I don't get excited about honestly getting out there and dating. Especially if you consider the fact that I once was married to somebody that I took vows with, that I assumed that I was going to spend the rest of my life with, that I had known for a really long time, and then got to re-know them. And then you're still trying to figure each other out while being married. And you just, hands down, just don't assume or think that you're going to have to start that all over again. But here I am. And the truth of the matter is that I'm 37. In my early 20s, I was overly excited to date and go on dates in general, because dates to me meant experiences. It meant getting to know somebody. It really was like, just experiences and having fun, and honestly having somewhere to go. I wasn't at home, obviously at the time, whether I was in college or my apartment, whatever, but I, was having fun and living in the moment. Things are very different for me now. Things, I think when I think about dating, I love the fact, for one, that I'm not closed off to it. Now, I will also say that if and when dating feels right and it naturally happens, then it's going to be dating for the possibility of getting married again somewhere down the line. Not rushing that by any means necessary, but I just love the fact that I'm at a place where my heart is open to that. Now, we'll say I have learned my lesson from the past, and that I'm not chasing that. I'm not, for what I mean by that is that I'm not getting myself on dating apps. That's a waste of time, waste of energy for sure, because I can tell you first and foremost that God did not create dating apps. And I am full-heartedly, completely trusting that God has somebody that is for me, that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I know that I'm not naive to the fact that I need to get out of the house. And that's one thing that I am lately appreciating and loving, is that I'm trying new things and I'm getting out and doing new activities. And I'm really enjoying overall getting to know myself more. I'm not feeling rushed about, the dating scene or dating anybody. And quite frankly, like I said, I've learned my lesson to not chase. I'm not doing the chasing. I've learned that that is not what God has intended for me. To each their own, but I'm not going to do that. And But my thing is that I love that in my spirit and in my heart that I am open to it. But I also know that it's not the main focus of my life. Getting to know myself, this new version of myself, and getting in touch with the person that I used to be, I feel like it's kind of all coming together and aligning. And what I love is, that I'm continuously working to not only improve who I am, but I want to, quite frankly, work towards being the best version of myself for when God does have that person in mind to cross my path, that it's just the right timing. That's all. That's what I all I can say about that is that it's all about the timing, and that's not the focus for me at this point. It's not, the possibility of being a mom. It's definitely not settling down and getting married, or let alone dating. But I do love the fact again that, like, my spirit and my heart is not closed off to that. I'm very much open to it, but it's not my main focus in my life right now. I love the fact that I'm at a place where I'm building a life, and that the life that I'm building for myself just feels healthy. It feels mentally healthy. It feels spiritually healthy, obviously physically healthy, but more importantly, it's focusing on the spiritual and the mental part, and knowing that I quite, if I'm being honest with myself and with you guys, that I feel the best that I felt in a very long time. Not only, again, just spiritually, but mentally as well. And one of the things that I'm learning to appreciate more is the small joys. It's the small moments in my life, whether it's making a coffee in the morning, whether it's enjoying planning outfits depending upon where I'm going, what activity I'm going to. I've been having a lot of fun with that, specifically with a little plug-in Stitch Fix. If you know, look into it, highly recommend it. But just planning outfits in general and having fun, expressing myself through my accessories, through my clothes again, finding small joys in that, trying new restaurants, different places that my friends, that anybody, like whoever I'm hanging out with, wants to go and try out, different, experiences, different, maybe even if it's like festivals, or again, like markets or things like that, they're only available for like once a season. I'm appreciating putting myself out there, trying those things as well. I love that. Another small joy for me in my life, a big difference that has a big change that's made a big difference in my life, is I recently minimized the amount of social platforms that I'm on. So I love that I'm focusing more on Instagram. I've been really enjoying putting more content out there that is more authentic for myself, and not necessarily planning out my content like I used to, but kind of being more present in the moment. Maybe I get inspired by somebody else's content that they're sharing, or it could be something that I just sporadically came up with on my own. But I love being able to now express myself through my page of what catches my attention, what's bringing me joy, things like that. I love that lately I've been going on more like day trips, little adventures. Um, in fact, not a little adventure, but I have a big trip that's planned later in the fall. So I'm very, very excited about that, because that's something that I truly missed over the years. Was I used to take at least one big trip for myself every year, and I love going on trips solo. So that's something that I'm definitely leaning more into, and I'm very excited about that for later this year. But in the meantime, I'm appreciating the day trips, whether I'm gone for like a whole day or a couple of hours. But either, whether it's sporadic or it's maybe something that was like kind of last minute, I love being able to just kind of embrace the day and then just seeing what's gonna come my way. Um, One thing that I've tried recently that has surprised me. Ooh, let's see. I think I'll go full circle and say putting myself out there and working out, moving my body. That's something that I always mentally knew over the last couple of years that I wanted to get back to at some point. But it's one thing to think about it, and it's another thing to actually do it. I'm very, very proud of myself for not only showing up for myself and leaning into this, but it's something that I I really truly look forward to doing now. It's not something that I feel like is a chore, and I don't have to work out. I want to show up for myself. I want to work out. And I would say, like, my advice, if you're listening and it's been a while, or you feel maybe you've gotten off track, or you're wanting to get out and try something different, or maybe you're like myself and you haven't really moved your body as much as you would like to over the last year or two, like how I was, I recommend finding something that is going to otherwise bring you joy. There are other ways that you can move your body outside the gym. The gym is for some people, but it's not for everybody. And I would say, um, be open to the opportunity to trying something at least once, because let's be honest, you're not going to know whether or not you're going to enjoy it or succeed at it until you try it at least once. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. And I would also say that something that I'm saying no to more often right now in my life is I'm saying no to those that are asking things of me that I maybe don't have the energy for at the time. I'm very particular about if somebody needs something from me. If I'm getting better about checking in with myself and asking myself mentally, like, do I have, well, first and foremost, more importantly, do I have the time for this? But also, do I have the energy to take this on? And if not, giving myself enough grace to know that it's perfectly fine to tell somebody no. And that in the past has been very hard for myself, but I'm getting better at telling somebody no, or if it's not no, then it's not right now. On the other hand, one of the things that I'm saying yes to more often than not is I'm saying yes to more social activities. That's something that, again, my past self, if I was if I was to go back and tell myself a couple years ago, hey, you would be doing a lot more social things and groups of people that you really don't know that well, I wouldn't believe her. I wouldn't believe my past self or my future self because that was not me a couple years ago. But I want to get out there. I want to meet new people. I want to, not necessarily, I don't want to, I wouldn't say that I want to make new friends. I'm very, very picky about, I love the idea. I love that I have like a few close friends, and I don't want more than that. I don't need more friends, but I love being able to just meet people, especially if it's maybe I'm meeting, like if I'm hanging out with my friend and they're introduced me, I don't know, to a couple people that they know. I love the fact that I'm able to have like a present moment with them and conversation with them. And it's not like, hey, let's hang out more often. Let's go do more things together. It's like, no, we're being present. We're living in the moment. We're enjoying it for what it is. And I love just that. I love, again, going back to like the idea that kind of people come and go in our life, for a reason. And I love that I'm not putting pressure on myself anymore to make more friends because, like I said, I have enough friends and I have acquaintances, but I just love the fact of, you know, more often than not through the week that I'm hanging out and spending time with my closer friends. But I love in return that if I'm going out to like these one day like craft camps or going to a friend's house who's hosting a party with their friends, that I can have conversations with these people and there's no expectation there. Like to me, that funny enough is like the most fulfilling feeling is to be able to just enjoy conversation for what it is without any otherwise expectation. I don't know why, but that lately has been bringing me more joy. One of the things I am certainly looking forward to, for one, is starting over the 90-day challenge tomorrow. Because again, I know I've said it so many times, but today marks the 90 days. And so I'm excited to start a new 90-day challenge tomorrow. So I'm excited to see like what comes this summertime. And yeah, just I'm still taking life day by day. Now I will say that over the last month, last couple weeks specifically, that I'm allowing myself to plan and dream a little bit more into like the next couple months. The last like 3 months ago, I was definitely not in that headspace. But overall, like I would say any key takeaway from this, specifically going into your day tomorrow or this week, this following week, is growth isn't always through big life changes. That's one thing that I've noticed and just taken into account recently, is that growth is not always going to come from the big life changes, but it can happen through the little decisions that we're making in our lives. Like, for example, showing up for ourselves, trying something new, or choosing joy even when it isn't easy. For myself personally, like, I'm still figuring things out. I'm not perfect. My life's not perfect. I'm still trying to figure out myself. I'm trying to figure out life in general. But I will say that I'm so grateful for where I'm at right now with everything. I'm excited for what's next for this season. Again, I can't wait. I don't know what's to come, but it's a little exciting, like the kind of like the not knowing of it all. And if I can leave you with this, it's Genesis chapter 22, verse 17. And I'm actually I usually write the scripture down, but I decided to actually just pull my Bible out and read from that instead. So one of the things that you may not know about me is that whenever I do come across a scripture, no matter how that may be, I personally like to, I'm going to turn it around for those that are watching the YouTube video. I personally like to mark up my Bible. And what I mean by that is I'll mark the date. And then if there's maybe a message that kind of flows and goes with the scripture itself, I'll make a note of that. But more importantly to me is I love writing the dates beside the scriptures that I'm coming across, because then that way, anytime in the future when I go back and I come across the same scripture, it's a reminder of how far I've come and the things that have kind of taken place in my life. So for example, just looking at chapter 22 as a whole, one of the dates that I do see from the very beginning is from like 3 years ago. And it's talking in reference of like asking myself, or asking God more importantly, like, what is a God testing within me? But this week specifically, again, we're going to talk about, I want to mention to you Genesis, again, chapter 22, verse 17. And okay, here we go. So it says, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. My takeaway from that is that God is with us not only on the highs, the high of the mountains, but also in the lows of the valleys. So to know that He's constantly with you, whether you're going through a tough season right now, or whether you're having, you're on the other side of that. Like maybe you're having a great month, a great week, but just know that God is constantly with us. He's with us through our lowest of lows and our highest of highs. And one of the things that I think is so important for us to remember is that we are all important to God, that God values each and every single one of us, and that He has purposely brought you into this life for a reason. And there could be moments where, if we think about like how big this world is and how big the universe is, it's so easy for us to get wrapped up in the thought that maybe God has forgotten about us, or God doesn't have time for me because there are all these other things that are happening in the world, right? Or maybe you're coming across those through a church service, or somebody you've had conversations with, or your coworkers, your neighbors, your family, whatever the case may be. And you're then gently reminded that there are people that are going through worse things than you. And I know that sometimes that can get us into a mindset of what I'm going through is not as important as what someone else is going through. And I want you to know that whatever it is that's weighing heavy on your heart, whatever it's heavy on your mind, on your shoulders, whatever burdens that you're currently carrying, whatever you're struggling with right now, it matters. You matter. What you're going through matters. And God sees you. And God feels your hurt. God knows the struggles that you're going through. Or if you're blessed enough to be on the other side of that, God is cheering you on. And He knew all along that you and I could process that and get through the hard stuff. But He's with us every step of the way. I wanted to, before we end this week's podcast, if you want to close your eyes. Now, of course, if you're driving, you're listening, safety first, don't close your eyes. But I just want to close this out in prayer before we wrap up this week's podcast episode. Lord, we come before you with our humbled hearts. I ask that you cover, and you cover everyone up that's listening to this right now. You cover their hearts, you cover their minds with faith, reminding that you know each and every single one of us, that we matter, that we are important, God. And anybody that's listening right now, I just ask that you lift their burden, you lift whatever it is that's heavy in their heart and in their mind, that you lift it up, and for them to know that you've got them every step of the way, and that they are so precious to you, God, and that you that they are yours, that they are your sons, that they are your daughters, and that they matter, and that they are important, and that you have not forgotten them, even in moments when they feel alone, or maybe that they feel distance from you. And God, I just ask you just come into the heart, come into their mind, and give them that warm hug and that warm embrace, and remind them that they are yours, that they are loved, that they are important, and that they matter. Amen. Well, until next time, as always, find clarity, and don't forget to unscramble your faith and find clarity in the chaos. Thank you, guys.